And the thing about this book, D.E.P, is that I include D.H. Lawrence in my book. D.H. Lawrence wrote a book entitled Studies in Classic American Literature. And among the things that D.H. Lawrence is discussing in this book is this concept of the spirit of place, or the genius of place, or the thing that makes a place a unique and special place. And Ward, of course, is very strong in the spirit of place. And my hometown of Norwich, Connecticut, of eastern Connecticut, where the Mashantucket Pequots Foxwoods Casino is, and the Mohegan Indian Tribes Mohegan Casino is. There, it also is a place that has a strong, long existing spirit of place. Anyways, I start off with a quote from D.H. Lawrence, and it goes, "Because the real human soul, the Holy Ghost, has its own deep prescience, which will not be put into figures, but flows on dark, a stream of prescience." D.H. Lawrence, Studies in Classic American Literature, Chapter 4, The Sumac. The wild animals, the Indians, the archaic world, the soul-shaken visions, the dreams, my apocalypse, the apocalypse, came into the clearing in the woods where I lived. My first clearing in the woods was in the sumac. When I pitched my Caldor cabin tent in the sumac bushes the first week of May 1991, the sumac wasn't in its flower. And yet Gloria told me the bees would come. When the sumac flowered, the bees came. The sumac was thick with them. I lived in a round clearing in the sumac. Later I found, about 250 feet away, a cemetery with the first white people who had cultivated the land. The circle was covered with a thick, springy sod. I would find myself dancing on the sod, pounding my feet into the ground, loving the earth with my dance. The round clearing had been a covert herb garden when the apocalypse happened. It was again a herb garden. There was a trace of a path. Then the path would end. Then you had to crawl through a tunnel. The tunnel went under and through the thorns, briars, and prickers. The last 10 feet had to be done crawling on hands and knees with your head lowered to the ground. When you got into the circle, you had to move a certain way. You could not be scared. You had to obey, submit, yield to the bees. At first light, you would hear them. Their sound would put you into the deepest, most blissful trance of sleep. The trance deepened as more bees came into the sumac. The hypnotic drone would permeate the early morning, the dreams. People in my family have premonitions. In 1928, my mother's family was in Poland after they survived and escaped the Great Russian famine and Stalin. My grandmother, my Bubby, had a dream. She never told anyone what the dream was. And yet, because of the dream, my mother's family fled Poland, fled Europe. When his people who weren't in the loop began coming to him with dreams of the burning, imploding, fallen towers, Osama bin Laden feared American dreamers would know, would have warning, would give warning, and yet he had nothing to fear. Americans are the most fanatically enlightened, the most incarcerated in the boxes in the sky, the most nimble in the not seeing, the recoiling, the most desperately commonsensible. They know myth, dream aren't anything real. My uprising starts with the dream. It's about letting them come and go, seeing them for what they are. It's about submitting, yielding, obeying them. I dreamed of the Nawa apocalypse. I knew disaster was coming, but I could not run. I could not hide. I could not escape. I had to yield, submit, obey. And yet the dreams told me that on the other side of the suffering, the darkest despair, being reviled and despised, there would be joy, there would be mirth, laugh its own self, loving the earth with my dance. The dream told me there would come a day when I would be grateful for the hard experience, the hard knowing. We all got to ride the dragon. That's what I said when Gambini and the tattoo he rode in on came to the refuge to begin the countdown. That's what I say to everybody now.
Nice. Great. Let me stop the recording real quick.